away from her, you bitch!
Hello everyone, this is Mel here, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to talk about a game called Hunted, Mining Colony 415 by Gabe Barrett. And this is one of those games that I have previously not heard of, even though it was one of those games that went on Kickstarter and did relatively successfully. But simply, I completely missed it for some reasons. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of people talking about it. So I get to know this game from the Dungeon Dive group. Someone mentioned there about how great this game is and how few people talked about this game. And I think that's why I want to quickly do a video about what I think about it. And to start with it, I think this is an absolutely brilliant game. It is not something that you would think when you look at this appearance. So it is a really small box game. So you can see everything is on the table. And not only it is a small box game, it also requires a really small table space as well. So literally this is all the space you need to play this game. And the third reason that I think it is not been discussed a lot is because people don't necessarily know what exactly is the genre of this game. Although it is a alien themed action game, it is essentially a dungeon crawler, which is a genre that I absolutely loved. So I think there are three things that this game does superbly. First thing is that it reminds me of what is important or what makes me love dungeon crawlers in the first place. And it is not necessarily because of the tiles, it's not because of the furniture, it's not because of the miniatures. It is the sense of explorations when you go through the dungeon, when you go through room over rooms, and when there's unexpected events that comes out of nowhere and you have to deal with them with whatever you have in your disposal. And quite a lot of time that also involves pushing your luck as well. And the second thing that I love about this game is that this game actually reminds me why we love board games. In a world where we have video games that does everything, almost everything better than a board game, better graphics, better cinematics, better musics, better immersions, why do we still need board game? And I think the reason is because there is still fun to be had with regarding to the analog experience. And I will talk about that later, but first of all, I want to quickly go through what this game is. So, as you can see in front of me, this is all we need to play this game. So, as this is the player board, character board, so you can see it's a really relatively simple one. All you have is life, so your health is from 1 to 6, and you start with 6 health. And the interesting part is you can see there are 2 tokens on the top. So basically, when you are at 4, 5, and 6, you will use the larger tokens, the larger health tokens, whenever you need to do any test. And when you go to 1, 2, 3, basically meaning you're weaker, you will use a smaller health tokens. And that is essential because in this game, there's no dice. All the tests are done by a dexterity game, which involves using your alien card over here so that you can see there's a circle in the middle. All you need to do is throw your tokens, and as long as it hits the circle, even if it just touches the line, you will be considered as successful in that test. Now, this is the normal mode, and there is also a hard mode, which significantly reduces the size of the hit area. So it will be much more difficult to do that. But essentially, this game basically uses this to replace all the dice check. And I think this is brilliant for a couple of reasons. So quite a lot of time people complained about the dice-based dungeon crawler games because essentially there's no way for you to dictate the actions. Basically, if you take the actions, you don't know if it's going to hit, if it's going to miss, and you're at the mercy of the dice roll, which for some people is quite frustrating. But there's also good things about that mechanism, and that is the push your luck part of it. Basically, if a action requires you to roll a 6 to succeed, there's always 1 in 6 chance for you to succeed that test, albeit how difficult that is. So for a lot of people like myself, that is also part of the fun. And this dexterity game basically allows you to get the best of both worlds. So this is definitely not a new thing for anyone who went to any caravan, any carnival. You would have played these kind of games before. So normally you will need to throw a dice or throw like a ring to hit the bottle, and then the higher you hit, then the better prize you get. So this is not something new, but when we use it for a dungeon crawl, this actually means that even though this is still risk involved, there is also a level of skills, because you will get better at throwing these kind of tokens at it, and once you kind of master the game, then there's you will basically get much better chance than when you first start playing this game. So it basically gets the best of both worlds. You get to push your luck, and you get the skilled-based combat system. So how do we play this game? There is a few components. So this is essentially your dungeon room card. So you can see there is quite a few of them. What you need to do is basically go through all of them. So just to give you an example, the first card will be like a sewer. Normally these dungeon rooms or these location rooms involve some kind of test or some kind of specific instruction. So in this case, the sewer will require you to draw 3 cards. If any of them is an alien, you will need to fight it. So, and if we go to the next one, for example, this is the supply room. So you will need to draw another 5 cards. If there's any grenades, you may be able to put it in your inventory. So that is also great. But essentially what you need to do is go through all of these rooms until you get to the landing pad, which is where you need to fight the alien queen. For those of you who watch the Alien movies, you can definitely tell by now that this is highly inspired by, I think, the first and the second Alien especially. And it is great. It is very thematic, and I would even say that this game plays best when you finish watching the Alien movies. Probably after a marathon of Alien movies, this plays best whenever you watch those films, because you simply get the same kind of cinematic feelings, the thematic actions that you see from those movies. So you're basically playing as Ridley. So once you defeated this card, then you will be able to succeed in the game. And obviously there's some kind of scoring system, depending on how many health you have remaining. By the time you escape, you get higher scores. But essentially this is the game. Basically your objective is to go through the dungeon room until you get to the landing pad. Now the second part is obviously this deck of cards, and I think this is an amazing design. This is essentially a replacement of all your corridors, all your unexpected event, all your enemies, and also all your loot, all in this one single deck of cards. And what's even better is that all of these items will interact with each other. So to explain that, I'm going to draw some cards. So to play this game, essentially you're basically drawing from this card until you are able to unlock these locations, and then keep drawing until you unlock to the final landing pad locations. So if I go quickly draw the first one, you can see this is a corridor. So I love the arts of this, and you can definitely tell these are the arts that is inspired by some of the older games. I think the older like Metal Slug games, those Japanese, I think 64-bit games that the arcade game style, and I love them. So to read this card, you can see there's a few different icons. On the top right corner, this is what this card will allow you to access when you activate this card, and this is the location, basically the same as these ones. But in order to activate it, you have to pay the price. So you will have to pay 2 movement points over here, as you can see. And at the moment, because this is the first card, we don't have any movement points. What this card gives you though is a exploration icon. So this is basically telling us that there is, when we start this game, we are at the start of a corridor. In order to reach the end of the corridor, we have to pay 2 movements, but we can kind of explore during this corridor to see what it can give us. So essentially, we basically go through the next card. So this is a motion detector, and this is an item. You can see this is one of those things that you can bring with you if you are able to pay the price. So obviously we previously have 1 exploration, which is not enough to pay for this price of the motion detector, but this card will give us other movement. So you can see how they can interact with each other to just simply create a little story straight away. So this is one of those emergent story games where you say, if you pay 2 movement to go through here, you can say it uses the detect motions to allow you to safely get through the corridor to your location. Or if you pay 2 of these exploration to get to this, you can say that by exploring the corridors, you are able to find a motion detector. So that's when I say all of these infantry, loot, the corridors, the tiles will interact with each other. So at the moment, we still can't do anything. Actually, I forgot to mention. So also there's a noise icon over here. So this is when you have one of these cards, that is fine. But if you have 2 of them, then whenever there is an alien card being drawn from the deck, then you will have to fight it, and you have to discard every card that is already been drawn. Which makes thematic sense, because tinkering with a motion detector is pretty noisy. And if you have seen the first Alien movie, then you will see how unreliable these things are, to be honest. You probably better not to use them, looking at how Ridley survived the first encounter. So let's keep going. Sorry for the gloss. So there's a door. Okay, so this door is pretty good because it gives you a exploration and also a movement point. But it requires a key to open it if you want to open it. But it gives you access to 2 locations. So obviously, given that there's a time limit where you start from 20, and obviously by the time you get lower than 1, then you lose the game. And this game does take quite a lot of time pretty quickly, because every combat will require you to spend time. Reloading your weapons will require you to spend time as well. So immediately, just from these 3 cards, then there's already some decisions that we have to make. Do we pay the price of these 2 so that we can get access to the motion detector, put it in our inventory so we can use it later? Or do we use the 2 movement generated from the door and the motion detector to explore the corridor, or the third option is to keep drawing until we get a key and open this door, because this door will give us 2 locations rather than 1. So decisions, decisions, decisions. This is the core gameplay of 100. And let's say if we just keep on drawing it, let's see what we get. Oh, interesting. Another corridor. So it's probably one of those T-junctions in in your typical dungeon crawls. But this corridor gives you a key. So, I mean, we can open this door now. But in that case, these 2 will still remain there. And it's probably the best thing to do, because this generates quite a lot of noise. So these corridors, these 2 corridors, the corridors and the motion detector, as long as they stay in the drawn card, whenever I draw a alien, I will have to fight it. So let's quickly use the key that we found in this corridor to open this door. So we discard both of them and then draw 2 cards, and we can basically pick the one that we want to encounter. So let's see. So it is a morgue. You may lose 1 time to add 1 key token to infantry. Or the barracks. You may lose 1 time to search the deck or discard piles for sprinkles. Sprinkles is the equivalent of Jones, the ginger cat in the first and second Alien, which is brilliant. Obviously they can't use the name, but I love that you can also save that cat. So there's a lot of decisions to make. In this case, I will probably just discard the barracks, and I will get myself a key instead, because this will probably allow us to roll to basically open more doors when we find them. So the next one, oh, that's excellent. This is a flamethrower. It is quite expensive. It requires 3 explorations to buy, and we can't do anything at the moment, but it generates lots of noise. So we probably find an ammo box and also this weapon box, and it creates obviously a lot of noise if we have to try to open it, which at the moment we already have 2 noises in our row. So let's continue. The next one. Oh, and this is the alien. So it means that basically we have to discard all of the previous cards that we've drawn, unfortunately, because we have 2 noises. So all of these opportunities are gone from now on. But it's a good time for us to show how you basically do any tests. So this alien is probably the weakest ones, because it only requires you to hit it once. And there's also an icon over here, which is a crew icon. Basically, whenever if you have a crew that you is basically you rescued, they will target them first. So they will target them and they will snatch them. And if you ever watch those first movies, then you can tell that they will use them as spawns. Okay, so the combat of this game is pretty easy. As you can see, we start with a pulse rifle, and there's 3 ammo for this gun, and there's also already loaded with 4 bullets. So what you can do is you can first of all decide how many bullets you're going to use, and as long as you hit the inside of this circle or even touches it, then you will consider it as a hit. And the first alien that we encountered is actually the weakest one, so as long as we have 1 hit, this alien is gone. So let's say if we go and try with 1, to throw in there, you can't basically throw whenever you have your fingers on top of the box, so you need to throw from outside of the box, which is more complicated, or more difficult than it seems. And I'm gonna just try to throw 1 to see how it goes. Okay, that is a bullseye, so we hit it straight inside the middle, and that basically means that we defeated that alien. Now that seems to be very easy, but whenever you go deeper into the enemy dice, some of them will require to throw 2 hits or even 3 hits when we get to the alien queen. To mitigate that kind of risk, if we were able to get the flamethrowers, you can see it basically gives you a different kind of ammo. So this is a fire ammo. So this is actually a significantly bigger tokens than the just the normal ammo tokens from the pulse rifle. So obviously that means that you have a bigger chance to hit it. And there's even other types of like these kind of like a laser or a sniper tokens, which is much longer than anything else, and it's pretty easy to hit. And there's also obviously the grenade ones, but the grenade ones, even though it's easy to hit, sometimes because of the size, it will block the other tokens from hitting the circle as well. So I think this is a brilliant system, and I think this is one of those things that reminds me there's something about board games in the analog forms that you cannot replicate in the video games. And also at the same time, you can't replicate it just from the other side of the spectrum, the solo role-playing games where everything is happening in the theater of mind. And that is basically being playful with the physical components of your board games. You can see this is just basically the box, and in most board games they would just let you chuck it away, and you basically just whenever you play the game, you take out every component and leave it there. But it uses every inches of this box. And what's great about this is because obviously there's the lid as well, so it allows us to do like a cooperative games, because they comes with 2 aliens, so each person can have their own little box, and that's a good time to go into the co-op part. So this game I think was originally designed as a solo playing games, but there is a co-op component of it, and I don't think I've seen a lot of people talking about it online, but I think it's brilliant. So your companion, the people you play with, they actually have a player card. So again, you can choose from playing as Terrence or from Hobbs, and they have 4 health instead of the 6 that you have as the main character. And essentially, what you do as a co-op game is you will take turn to draw from the stack. So for example, you from here, you from there, and you also get to draw it to a shared drawing rows. So you can trade it basically by saying, I want to trade mine and push it to the shared rows, and both of them can access it. And I think that's brilliant, because that gives you a lot more choices than you have then playing as a solo player. And I would say this is actually one of those games that plays even better when you have a friend, while it is already an excellent game playing solo. So that's pretty much it about Hunted Mining Colony 415 by Gabe Barrett. Now, there are more Hunted games, as far as I'm aware, and I think there's a recent similar mechanic games, but it's not called Hunted. That was just kickstarted this year as well, last year. But none of them actually uses the dexterity game, as far as I can tell, which is a shame, because I think in the dungeon crawl genre, or the board game genre in general, we definitely need more innovations like this, where we learn from other traditional form of games and incorporate them into our board games, rather than just having bigger miniatures, bigger tiles, more dices. You know which games I'm talking about. But yeah, that's it. This is really also a relatively cheap game. I bought it for £17 in the UK. I'm sure that there's cheaper versions in the US if you are there. And yeah, I would highly recommend anyone to hunt this game down. No pun intended. If you ever get a chance. Okay, so thank you for watching. I will talk to you guys next time. Thank you. Bye bye.